In joy and humility, we are the ALEPH Ordination class of 5,779. One rabbinic pastor, 3 chazanim,
and 6 rabbis. During this week of Parshat V'Shah, Shabbat Shirah, the Song of Song, we read again the story of the miracle of the parting of Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds. As our people walked on dry land through the walls of water into their new lives, they sang a song of jubilation. So it is with us today. Together we make our way towards the future. If you look into your programs on page 6, you will see how the Torah displays the song. We invite you to hear our songs inspired by these words.
Uri, uri, Kol Refuah. I am the daughter of divine light and Shekhinah's healing voice. I am Kohenet Marchivat Halev, she who expands the heart. Tirechi nafshios, tirechi nafshios, chadlu ferazon beYisrael, chadelu ad shakamti Devorah, shakamti Israel. Safety in open spaces had ceased in Israel, had ceased, until I, Deborah, arose a mother in Israel. Uri, Deborah, Uri, Dabri Shir. Arise, awake, Deborah, arise and chant your song. May we all awaken our inner Devorah. Like Devorah, who was a prophet, an oracle, a judge, a leader, a warrior, and an aim b'Yisrael, a mother in Yisrael, I am multifaceted. I am a Hazan, a Kohenet, a teacher, a spiritual healer, and I am an aim b'Yisrael. I am blessed to be the mother of 3 beautiful children. And as a teacher, I have nurtured hundreds of other children. Feel safe. May my presence and creative offerings be infused with spirit for the sake of healing and transformation. As I rise to receive my Smicah as a Hazan, I pray. May Shekhinah's voice stream through my heart with clarity to bring more light and goodness into our world. Amen. May our souls on this journey be strong. Tidrechi nafshios, tidrechi nafshios.
Shira Ladonai, I will sing to the source. Holy One of blessing, you gave me this voice. Now show me what to do with it. Years of doubt. Is singing really my path? With years of prayer, clarity came. With this clarity came a master's degree in music and tours here and abroad. I thought I had my marching orders. Then further clarity. It seems God had more thoughts on the matter. What do you do? A normal question. But when I answer, inquirers are often surprised. You're allowed to do that? I suppose they missed some years of egalitarian trends in liberal Judaism. Or they'll ask, well, what does that mean? A Chazan, a Cantor, what do you actually do? What do I do? Let me try and explain. I am a swimmer. I swim in the river of song. I am a jeweler. I craft golden links between us and the mystery we seek. I am an architect, designing rooms inside the palace of time. I am a decorator. I adorn these rooms with filigree of sound. I am an archer when I aim for the silence. I am an electrician. I repair faulty wiring and restore short circuits. I am a paver. I lay the stones for those who pray with their feet. I am a doula as I accompany seekers through the tight places of transition. I am a dowser. I sing water from flinty hearts. I am a sounding board, a vessel, a channel, a mirror. Ashira l'Adonai. I sing God's songs. I am a chazan. Uri, Uri, Mari. Uri, Uri, daber shir.
Ze'eli b'anvehu. You are my God, and I will exalt you. You are my God, and I will build you a sanctuary. I will find you in the sunlight. I will seek you in the dark places, in the still waters and in the troubled waters. You are my God. I cannot hold you in, but I will build you a home within me. I make for you a sanctuary in my being. You are my God. When I am lonely, I will find you. When I am lost, you will guide me. You are my comfort. You are my solace. You have walked with me on my journey. You have brought me to this place. You have brought me to this time. You have brought me to this moment. You are my God. Ze'eli b'anvehu. And as I rise to receive Smicah as a rabbi, I will indeed become your sanctuary.
Uri, Uri, Yonatan. Uri, Uri, Reishi.
Your right hand, O Yah, glorious in power. Your right hand, O Yah, shatters the foe. I am the left hand, the dissenter, Acher, the child who asks if Yah is wearing any clothes. Who is the foe that the right hand shatters? What must be shattered in us to serve Yah? Yah judges us. Will our generation reflect Yah's glory or be shattered? What must we do to deserve to be Yah's people? I scream at Yah's right hand. I demand Yah's glory in the darkness.
Uri, Uri, David Raphael. Uri, Uri, daber shir.
Yeminecha, Yud-He Vav-He, Adarai, V'Koach. God's right hand is filled with strength, with the strength of chesed, of loving kindness. My Hebrew name is David Raphael ben Israel, the one who loves compassion, the child of those who have grappled with the eternal, the one who brought me out of the abyss, calling my name, drawing me close, and bringing me home. Today, I recall the first line of my bar mitzvah portion. I am a fountain pen. Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladecha u'mibeit avicha el ha'aretz asher ha'ercha. Go to and become yourself. Change the world, enliven your community, and build a new Judaism. Go to the promised land, the land of love and beauty and justice. The land that I will show you each and every day. As I rise to this afternoon to become a rabbi, I pray, may all of us join in this journey away from the confines of Egypt, the narrow place, to a place where all of us, where each of us, and all the world can sit under our fig trees and vines in peace.
Uri, Uri, Laurie, Uri, Uri, Reishi. Miha Moja, Bailim Adonai. Who is like you among the small g gods, you who are source of all? My name is Laurie. I am not a lover of ceremony, which probably sounds strange because I'm a rabbi, or I've been serving as one until this moment when I become one soon. And I preside over weddings and b'nai mitzvah and funerals and baby namings, but I don't love ceremony. What I love is ritual. So what's the difference? Let me explain. As my teacher and mentor, Rabbi Marcia Prager taught, a ceremony honors, but does not itself effectuate a change. Rather, it marks a change that happens whether the ceremony takes place or not. For instance, I graduated from college, but I was on the other side of the country when the diplomas were given out. I skipped the pomp and circumstance, but I got my degree anyway. But the power of ritual, on the other hand, is that it transforms. It transforms. Because of the ritual, we are different afterwards than we were when we began. That's the power. When I lead worship, I seek to create a space where transformation can happen, where people are different after they've had a chance to pray. That's what happens here today. A ritual of transmission and transformation, and we, muzmachot and muzmachim, candidates for ordination, we lean back on the hands of our beloved teachers. We lean back on the hands of our beloved tradition. And we are ordained. We are ordained and we are empowered. We step forward. We pass through the parting waters of the sea on beautiful dry land in gratitude and awe. And we marvel at the moment of becoming. And we sing out, Miha Moja, Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, maker of wonders. Uri, Uri, Eli, Uri, Uri, Davrishi.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Who is like you, Adonai, among the celestial beings? Who is like you, Yah, among all who are worshipped, glorious in holiness? 2 vignettes. It is night. I am 11 years old. at summer camp, lying on a blanket, gazing up at the stars. I see many constellations. I see fiery dragons, birds, sometimes even mythic scenes unfold before my very eyes. The magnificence of creation cracks open my heart and my mind. Miha Moja ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you, Adonai, among the celestial beings? Who is like you, Yah, among all who are worshipped? It is day. I am 8 years old, walking on the street. I see a hungry mother with 2 little ones. She is begging for food for her children. I am an 8-year-old witness to suffering. Her pain cracks open my heart. I want to offer her my dinner. I want to make it better. I ache to fix even this small bit of brokenness in our world. Surely the God of wonder and awe can help make the world better. It is today. I am a mother, soon to be a rabbi, and together with my children we have gazed at the awe of the stars and that night sky, and we have felt the pain of injustice in our world. I search in meditation and prayer to understand the mind of God. Why so much pain in a world full of so much beauty? What is the meaning of my life? Why am I here? What can I do? I may never understand the mind of God, but I do know, Miha Moja ba'elim Adonai. There is none like you, Adonai. And I, one small human created in your image, am here to be your servant. My hands can be your hands, my heart your heart. I can be as good as an Eved Hashem, a holy servant as I can be. Learning, loving, giving, teaching, striving, empowering. Miha Moja ba'elim Adonai, there is none like you. Each of us is a divine diamond spark of you. Each of us shines so brightly that we illuminate the darkness. We are a human canopy of stars, aware and conscious, empowered and creatively gifted beyond our wildest imagination. We see new possibilities for how life can be lived in our world, and we work to make those possibilities real. Miha Moja ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, Adonai, among the celestial beings, who is like you, Yah, among all who are worshipped. You are the creative power that shines in the night sky and in our minds and our hearts. As I rise to become a rabbi, I call out, you are the creative power that shines in the night sky. You are the one power that illuminates the mind and the heart.
Uri, uri, sad. Uri, uri, dabrishir.
You will bring them and plant them in your own mountain. Who shall plant the orchard? Who shall nurture the trees? The sovereign may say, bring, plant, but it is the servants who act. Who brings the sheep to the field? Who seeks to protect them? The master may say, bring, plant, but it is the servants who make words reality. May I remind my people, you are created in the image
of the Holy One of Blessing. May I bring them to understand you are rooted in holiness. May I teach them you are always in God's presence. You merely need to look. Your core is imperishable, holy fire. You can be on the holy mountain whenever you choose to be. Let my words remind, teach, uplift, ground, comfort, inspire. Help my folk to know, help bring them to understand they are planted in holiness. Holiness is their essential nature. They are planted, their roots sunk deep into the place, God's own mountain. You will bring them and plant them in your own mountain.
וברוח אפיך נעלמו מים, ניצבו חוכמות נוזלים, קפאו תהומות בלב ים. With the blast of your nostrils, the waters were piled up. The floods stood upright as a heap. The depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. A few months ago, I got a call from my voice teacher. Bruce, he says, what are frontlets? Yep. Tom is teaching online, and I join his video conference. Tom's student is a young woman at a conservative Christian high school. She's singing a composition with words that will be very familiar to all of us. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. It's the King James Version, and she can't make heads or tails of it. Frontlets. Frontlets. Frontlets, my backlets. I get out my tefillin and I show her the head box, the frontlet that goes between your eyes, and after a little more discussion, I promise to send her a better translation. Frontlets. Totafot in Hebrew. Most translations I have cheat. They merely substitute tefillin in place of totafot. That's not good, right? I searched through dictionaries and lexicons. Thank you, Rep. David Zaslow, for showing me how to do that. It turns out that totafot is a hapax legomenon. Reb Leila, thank you for teaching me that little bit of Latin. Hapax legomenon is a word that only occurs once in Tanakh, or only occurs in one phrase, even if it's repeated, so its exact meaning is not clear. I explain the word totafot, I copy a few translations, and let her know that, like the text, what really needs to happen is that she needs to sing from her heart. 90 minutes later, I've got an email and I send it off. Later that afternoon, I get an email back from the conservative Christian high school student. Wow, thank you for all that information. I found those different translations of the Shema very meaningful. I never said Shema. May the Lord bless you, signed Sarah. You know, ours have way too much fun swimming in the Yam Suf. This is the work I love to do, and that is why I never get my homework done. And yet, the chaos of those waters is what permits me to walk across on dry land.
Ubnei Yisrael halchu vayavasha b'toch hayam. The children of Israel walked on dry land in the midst of the sea. So many journeys only make sense after we arrive. The act of traveling is the state of being between two places, the place you left and the place you are going. Yet, the place we are going may be no more than an idea, part imagination, part what others have told us. In between is a liminal space, an in-betweenness that can be disorienting. When we are in between, we may be pursued by fears or weak with misgivings. The outline of what lies ahead is hazy. We have turned away from what was familiar, what we knew. But there is a way forward. There is a way to walk through the midst of the sea and still remain on dry land. We are the children of Israel. We are those who struggle. We see the waves, but we do not drown. Instead, we raise our voices in song and praise. Our shelter moves with us. Our safety is in Yah. Today I rise to become a rabbinic pastor. Though the way forward is indistinct, I too walk on dry land, raising my voice in song and praise.
תדרכי נפשי עוז, תדרכי נפשי עוז, תדרכי נפשי עוז.
On the banks of the sea, after walking through the waters on dry land, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher, sang a new song, new words, Az Yashir. Miriam HaNeviah, Miriam the prophetess, sang a new song with her timbrel, Shiru Lashem. The psalmist teaches us that each one of us has a song. Shiru Lashem Shir Hadash. Sing to the Holy One a new song. Here are the songs that we sing to you today as we take our places as teachers, poets, and visionaries for Israel and all the world, clergy for the 58th and 59th centuries.
We will now bring to life a verse from an ancient mystical text, Sefer Yetzirah, found on page 8 of the program. Achat Ruach, one spirit's breath. Elohim, Chaim, living God. Opening to spirit flow from above, down to our roots, and back up. Baruch umevorach shemo. Blessed in giving, blessed in receiving God's name. Shelchei ha'olamim, life of all worlds. Kol, V'ruach, the dibor. With our spirit breath, we connect our speech and chant to the voice of creation. V'zehu Ruach HaKodesh. All of this is Holy Spirit. I invite you to participate in this embodied practice. Here are your parts. This side of the room will be led by Hazan Jesse, and we'll sing the first 2 words of the chant. There's movement, which you will do seated. Repeat after me. You can put your books down. Of the chant. Repeat after me. Put your books down. Ruach HaKodesh. You are having a conversation with each other. It's important to follow your leader. And let's practice just the call and response twice through with your leader. Okay? So ready? One time. Then for the second and third rendition, follow your leaders with the call and response. And then I will sing the entire text through again, solo. Okay? Elohim Chaim Baruch U'mevorach Shemo Shel Chei Ha'olamim Shel Chei Ha'olamim Kol Veruach V'dibor V'zehu Ruach HaKodesh Achat Ruach Elohim Chaim Mevorach Shemo Shel Chei HaKodesh Shel Chei Ha'olam Kol Veruach Elohim
Holy wow. I can't pinpoint the moment that I knew that I was on the path toward becoming a rabbi. I rode on my father, Marvin Franklin's shoulders, may his memory be for a blessing, at Simchas Torah, candy flying in the air, singing, flags, lots of people that I didn't know in the Bronx Shtibel, high above the crowd on my father's tall, tall shoulders. At the Pesach Seder, my Zaydis, Chaim Franklin, Alav HaShalom, at his house, I, a girl, allowed to ask the Fir Kashas, the 4 questions, because no male had been born in our family since my father's birth in 1919 and mine in 1950. My Orthodox Zaidi accepted it, and so I got to ask the 4 questions in Hebrew and, of course, Yiddish. A theology lesson. Bubby, we're Jewish, so why don't we go to synagogue? My maternal grandmother, Ella Shapiro, may her memory be for a blessing, answered, listen to this. People go to synagogue and they say all kinds of nice words, and then they go out into the world and they lie, they cheat, and they steal. And they fool themselves into thinking that saying nice words excuses them. What is most important is how you treat people. In Yiddish folk show, around age 9 or 10, I think, I was the letter Nun in the Hanukkah play. It was an exalted role. One of the 4 letters, you know, that spells the word Chanukah. So here's my line. Ich bin a Nun, ich setze ich her, ich bin wie ein Eck on a Berg. I am a Nun, I sit myself here. I am like a tail without a bear. So, ever since, I've been a nun. And sometimes I laugh. I am the missing nun in the alphabet acrostic Ashrei. At Irwin College in Indiana, one of the very few Jews on campus in 1969, I led a Seder reading a Haggadah thoroughly for the first time. You know, my Zadie's house, I fell asleep. So much I did not understand. Chosenness, Talmudic discourse, gratitude, praise. I realized I did not know much about any of it, and I was the Seder leader. It was humbling. 2 decades later, a rabbi with whom I had made an appointment and worked up to nerve to say, I wasn't sure I believed in God. He sent me away with, I don't have time for this. Holding the Torah during our friend's daughter's bat mitzvah, during her Dvar Torah, and just feeling the electricity. Learning the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel and realizing I could God wrestle too, and that I didn't have to understand everything or agree with everything that others said about God to engage honestly, personally, in Jewish practice. Moving to Missoula, Montana in 2002 and growing to fill a void left by non-existent local Jewish leadership and backing in slowly, small steps, becoming a leader in my community. Entering the ALEPH Rabbinic program. I guess the click must have happened somewhere in there. A year of learning at Pardes Institute in Jerusalem with side dishes of the Shalom Hartman Institute, the conservative yeshiva, and storytelling. Doing spiritual and emotional work so I could do the work. Reading the Baal Shem Tov and waking even more to the experience of divine service. And now, this moment of holy wow, this gate that comprises all those little gates. And as I pass through, I move with the support of my beloveds, my teachers, my co-congregants, my friends, my family, and the wider community where I live and here, all of you. Divine presence walks beside me on this path between the waters. And I dream and act to heal the broken world, to support my co-congregants in their lives and their learning, to create Jewish community in far-flung place, to engage in deep ecumenism and deep ecology, experience, expand, and share awe. Miha Moja, Ba'elim Adonai.
Let me make the songs of a nation, and I care not who writes its laws. This seems like a piece of scripture. It is, in fact, an aphorism of an obscure 17th century Scottish politician named Andrew Fletcher. But it helps us resolve the great mystery of Deborah, or Haftarat Bashalach, which is why Shangle so wonderfully and awesomely set the Song of Deborah for our entrance. The mystery of Deborah is a simple one. What the hell is she doing there? Now, we love the Tanakh, and we revere our scriptures. But let's not put too fine a point on it. Among its many virtues, it does not overly honor or emphasize women's voices. Most were redacted away. From the prophetess Miriam, who was redacted away from the Song of the Sea, all the way to the second book of Kings, where the prophetess Huldah sanctions the book of Devarim, and she is the prophet Jeremiah's sister, and she is forgotten for the rest of history. But there, Deborah sits under her palm tree, providing lessons and giving judgments. How? Why? Well, we have clues in the Haftarah. It is an old book. In verse 7, we see a form of the verb kum, kamti, that is in fact not either ancient or modern Hebrew. It is a more archaic form of Hebrew. It would be kumt otherwise. In other parts of the Haftarah, we learn that the tribe of Ephraim derives from Amalek, not from the children of Israel. Where does that come from? Well, we don't know, but the one thing that we do seem to know, and that scholars seem to agree on, is that this song is old. It is older than the narrative story of Deborah, which is also part of Haftarat Beshalach, and which has a series of direct contradictions of the poem. Thus, a hypothesis. Why is Deborah there? Because they couldn't get rid of her. The Song of Deborah, I submit, is an archaic, popular, religious ballad that, in an oral tradition, was passed down from generation to generation and could not be redacted away. Let me make the songs of a nation, and I care not who writes its laws. At some point, people were redacting the Tanakh, and the people who redacted away the other women's voices were about to do the same to Deborah, and people began to say, hey, what about that song? What about that song that we all know? What about that song that we all sing? Where's that? You have to include that. Imagine, for example, if one were to write a history of music for the last 70 years. And someone were to say, hey, wait a minute, you didn't include the Rolling Stones' Give Me Shelter, the greatest rock and roll song in the history of rock and roll. You have to put it in. No, don't complain. I'm a rabbi now. I can make the ruling I'm going to make. The Song of Deborah, thus, in a non-trivial way, represents a revolt against established religious authority. This has obvious implications for the present and for the contemporary rabbinate. It is not to take ourselves too seriously. It is not to think that our ordination makes us particularly special, or particularly wise, or particularly good, because it doesn't. It is simply a ceremony. This is a machloket b'shem shamayim. And in all events, we must resist the impulse, inherited from the ancients and often reaching pathological heights in Hasidim, to turn the rabbi into a divine intermediary, because we are not. It is not only false, but it also breeds an abuse of authority and an era of Me Too, an era that definitely has affected the Jewish community. We can never forget that. I went to my first Kala in 2007 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I attended with my best and most profound teacher, my wife, Kathy, who is not Jewish and comes from the religious tradition of the Religious Society of Friends, better known as Quakers. In Quakerism, there is no clergy, because everyone is said to have immediate access to God. She was struck, going from class to class, how many of these classes had a rabbi on one side and everybody else on the other. The rabbi was active, and everyone else was passive. At some level, we cannot avoid that. God and Israel are mediated through Torah, and Torah must be taught. And literally, thank God for that. Because popular religious consciousness also has enormous dangers, as we have seen in the United States through the corruption of white evangelicalism, whose entire religion has essentially decayed into brutalization of low-income people of color, and in other parts of the world where an apostasy against the great religion of Islam has turned into sort of an Islamic version of fascism. But as we teach Torah, let us remember that our goal is to have our students get to the point where they can teach us, where their songs will reach and bring forth the deepest wellsprings of the tradition, transforming it and creating it anew, as Deborah, or someone pretending to be, a character named Deborah, did 3,000 years ago. Deborah teaches us that many of the voices of the renewal of Judaism will come from places outside ourselves, from unexpected voices, from strange voices, from bizarre voices, from oppressed voices. They will often seem crazy and ugly and appalling. Our challenge is to listen to them anyway. That might be what I take being the biggest charge for being a rabbi, to elevate those voices into something profound and rich and honored. Just listen to those voices. Just listen.
Reb Zalman, Zikronot Levarcha, told us that when he got up every morning, he would say, Hashem, how will you deploy me today? The Midrash, Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer 42, relates this week's Parsha of Beshalach, and they say, 7 days after the children of Israel left Egypt, Pharaoh realized that he had made a mistake in letting the Hebrew slaves go. And so he mounted his chariots and he put forth his soldiers, and they pursued the Israelites. And as they were approaching Moshe Rabbeinu said, what shall we do? Rabbeinu Shalom, Master of the universe, what we are facing here is slaughter from the left and drowning from the right in the sea of reeds. And so what happened at that very moment is Nashon ben Aminadab rushed forward and jumped into the water up to his chest. And as the water rose to his neck, and above his shoulders to his mouth, and just as it was about to get to his nose and he would surely drown, the waters parted, and the children of Israel, all of us, walked forward to the safe land. Nachshon ben Aminadab, Aaron's brother-in-law, the brother of his Elisheva, his wife, Nachshon said when he woke up that morning, Hashem, what will be my deployment today? How will you deploy me today? And so it was that that day the children of Israel were saved because of Nachshon. And what about Moshe? Moshe was 80 years old. He had much left to do. I know that story. And every morning he would get up and say, Hashem, how will you deploy me today? Miriam, who watched her brother in the bulrushes because she knew what her deployment was. And what about Aaron? Aaron, who was the firstborn, who should have been the leader of the people Israel, played second fiddle to Moshe, his younger brother, because Aaron had the eloquence of speech, and when he said, Hashem, how will you deploy me today? He found Hashem saying to him in chapter 7 of Shemot, verse 2, Aaron, Achicha ledaber el Paro. Aaron, your brother will speak to Pharaoh. And so Aaron did speak to Pharaoh. And what did he accomplish by that? He didn't get to talk to Hashem every day, but he did get to talk to Hashem once a year from the holiest place in the earth, and he was able to be satisfied with his deployment. And so it was that each one of our patriarchs fulfilled their deployment when they asked Hashem, how will you deploy me today? I come today to this time, to this moment. I am ready to receive Smicah. I am prepared to go forth as a rabbi. I am somewhat of an outlier, and I am truly blessed that Reb Marsha and the Vod accepted me into this program. Over these last 6.5 years, I have been preparing for tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. I ask each morning, as Reb Zalman asked, Hashem, how will you deploy me today? In my first year, I enrolled in Rabbi Leila Gal Berner's class, Jewish Feminist Thought. It was truly transformative. I thought I knew about the other. I knew how to respect the other. And then I took Reb Leila's course, and I understood the difference in gender. I understood the inequities of gender. I understood the oppression of the other, and I understood the inequality that was put upon some peoples on this earth. And I decided at that time that that was my mission, my learning mission in renewal. It was a true experience for me and truly transformative. I learned leadership from Rabbi Sean Zevit, and I learned how to lead in DLTI. I learned Gemara and Mishnah from Rabbi Harry Zeitlin in Jerusalem. I learned halakha, I learned integral halakha, I learned philosophy, and I learned history. I learned Zohar. I learned all of these things that make me whole as a rabbi today. I learned about the Hasidic masters. I learned how to read the holidays through the words of the Hasidic masters and the lens of Reb Elliot. I also learned, as part of this total picture of renewal Judaism, compassion, sensitivity, and integrity. More than a half a century ago, Reb Zalman's friend and mentor, Abraham Joshua Heschel, wrote, "Judaism is in need of repair. The spirit is stifled, the word is emaciated." The Talmud tells us that the goal of reaching HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy Blessed One, is not only by keva, but by kavanah, not only form, but direction of the heart. The joy of Judaism comes into full blossom through renewal. With words, music, heart, and understanding, we raise our souls to the heavens. Rabbi Abraham Yitzhak Cook mentioned and spoke in 1909 that we have to make the old new and the new holy. He said we Jews must enter into a spiritual transformation which will be the foundation of a return from out of spiritual exile. That's where we are today. We are returning from out of spiritual exile. Rabbi Art Green, in a recent podcast from Judaism Outbound, said, said that Kabbalah and the Hasidic masters are no longer censored. And that is what we gain from the whole picture of Judaism in our program here in the AOP. We learn deep ecumenism, and here I am today. I am deployed as the rabbi in residence at St. Paul's Baptist Church. I embrace my African American brothers and sisters, and they embrace me. This is my deployment, and I will do my best in the assignment that the Lord has given me. When I ask tomorrow and every morning after that, as I did this morning, Hashem, how will you deploy me today? I will pray, I will be ready. Indeed, every morning I hope you will ask Reb Zalman and Nachshon ben Aminadab ask Hashem, how will you deploy me today? Let us call out together. Can I hear your voices? Hashem, how will you deploy me today? Now once again, Hashem, how will you deploy me today? And one last time before you get up tomorrow morning, Hashem, how will you deploy me today? I add my prayers to yours. May we each be ready.
Amen.
DLTI 3. Represent. Now, why did I do that? It was not to embarrass my mother, who was watching this streaming. Well, not entirely to embarrass my mother. One is always the youngest child. No, I shouted DLTI 3 for a very particular reason. People matter. Who we encounter, intentionally or not, matters in our lives. We're talking today about crossing the Sea of Reeds. Imagine being thrust out of a settled life, no matter how hard or unpleasant, into a world of flux and uncertainty. Who are you now traveling with in this chaos of exodus? You can perhaps have some small control over that. But in the main, your companions are a matter of chance. Over time, within this jumbled mass of the children of Israel and the mixed multitude, you can build something of an intentional community. But the life you build is built on the bricks you have to hand. That is, the people who are in your life. Today, in our oh-so-mobile world, we have a greater choice of who we associate with. But we are never free to choose the folk who make up our daily lives. In the flux of work, the necessary encounters of living our lives, from shopping to our children's schools, our neighborhoods, to the people we need to see when getting medical care. We don't control that. The third cohort of the Davening Leadership Training Institute, DLTI 3, is where I first formally encountered ALEPH as an organization. I fell in love with my fellow students and my teachers. That human encounter, that person-to-person interaction is why I am standing here now. I always had a love of studying Judaism, history, and religion. Since I was 11, the thought of being a rabbi had never really left my mind. But it was the community, the human beings, the souls I encountered in DLTI 3 that made my years of walking along the edge of deep formal study turn into a commitment of time, resources, and a significant portion of my headspace. I was deeply fortunate. Without those human connections, I might have learned some interesting things to enrich my lay leadership, but would I have traveled this path? I think not. One of my favorite saws is that the easiest way to encounter the Holy One of Blessing is to meet our fellow human beings. The people I met at DLTI made it easy to see that they were created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. Thus, it became a goal to be a long-term member of this amazing community of remarkable people. I had found the folks I had wanted to walk beside as I crossed the marshy floor of the sea and beyond as we navigated the wilderness that life can sometimes be. Yet in our day-to-day lives, our ordinary encounters away from retreat centers filled with deeply committed people, it is not always easy to see those around us as holy beings, partaking in the infinite, blessed with a core of divine fire. What do we do with the annoying cashier, the whining student, the rude receptionist, the petty boss, and so on in our litany of unpleasant daily encounters? We must try to see the holiness in each other. What is it to be Jewish? We do not use the word witness as Jews, thinking it to be a Christian thing. Maybe because I'm a Southerner, maybe I'll let that come out a little more, living in a very Christian culture, but I like the word witness. If we truly believe that our fellow human beings are created in the divine image, we must witness it through how we treat them, how we act toward them, how we react to them. If we do not act as if our fellow people are holy, how can we claim to believe it? If we do not seek to be kind, if we do not strive to be fair and just in every interaction, what belief are we really demonstrating through our actions? The image of life as a journey has been described as trite and happy. Yet life is a journey, and it is important how we walk. As we cross the sea and move into the wilderness of our day-to-day lives, what belief do we demonstrate by our actions and words towards our fellow human beings? If you want to know what an institution values, what it really values, see what it spends its money on. If you want to know what a person believes in their guts, in their soul, see how they treat others. What belief system do we each demonstrate in our daily actions and interactions? How do we witness our Judaism in the world? For if we do not act our Judaism in our kindness, compassion, and fairness, are we really Jews?
Page 10 in your program.
Before I start, I just want to point out how controversial Jonathan can be. And he said, something that might be, problematic. He said the rabbis should not be intermediaries. And in this, I agree, because that is the job of the chazan. My director of studies, Chazan Jack, said, find somebody else to be your accompanist. And so I'm so happy to introduce my son, Joel Morris. Page 10. Psalm 121.
Hashem yishmocha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Hashem yishmor tzedcha uvoecha, me'ata v'ad olam. Shir ma'alot v'sa'enai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Hashem, oseh shamayim va'aretz, hayitein lamot raglecha, hayanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Hashem shomrecha, Hashem tzilcha, hayad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach b'layla. Hashem yishmorcha, Hashem tzilcha, yishmor et nafshecha. Hashem yishmor tzedcha uvoecha, me'ata v'ad olam. Hashem yishmor tzedcha uvoecha.
In my Father's home are many dwelling places. This is a verse from the Gospel of John, and I read it every time I offer the commendation of the dying to a Catholic patient. Perhaps I read it in a different spirit than Christians do, but perhaps not. To me, it is a statement about God and God's spaciousness. There are a multitude of places, so many places where God is willing to meet us. In my office, I share space with a Buddhist chaplain and a Catholic priest. In my pastoral visitors group, a group of men and women who volunteer their time to visit hospital patients, we now include an anthroposophist. You may have to look that one up. And a secular humanist. And in a group I lead, a group of women with cancer. The women are not only every variety of religion, but all ages and colors and backgrounds. Which brings me to my hospital, which is at the center of all this. I think of the hospital as God's place. I think God is palpably present in every room. God's presence is concentrated, so to speak, in the midst of so much suffering and questioning. But wait. Everyone recognizes the suffering in hospitals, but not everyone knows the other side. The endless amounts of positive feelings flowing through the hospital, the true patience, the active discernment, and love. God does. God recognizes all the currents ebbing and flowing in the hospital because God is in the midst of it all. It is an unimaginable privilege to work there. There are many rooms, many dwelling places in the hospital, and God is in each one of them. And the variety of people in the rooms, every kind of person and every kind of faith is there. ALEPH brings inspiration to this work. Deep ecumenicism allows us, I'm quoting here, to walk side by side with our fellow travelers without losing sight of the differences between us, of what makes each tradition rich and special and beautiful. As Rachel Barenblatt has said, we can do this without risking our own integrity. If we have roots in our own tradition, we do not need to be afraid to encounter other religious paths. ALEPH helps us to find or to strengthen our own voice in the midst of diversity. As a rabbinic pastor, as a Jewish chaplain, we are prepared to recognize holy sparks at moments and in places where these may not seem likely. Rachel Naomi Remen has said, we are too often fooled by someone's appearance, their age, or their illness. We are just too busy, too hurried or distracted to bear witness to those holy sparks in others. When we recognize the spark of God in others, we blow on it with our attention and we strengthen it. Or at least that is the goal. That is the hope. We listen and we lift up the holy sparks. Amen.
For as long as I can remember, I have always read the signs. No, not the ones you might be thinking of, street signs or stop signs, but those other signs. Moments that might appear insignificant or random, but for me, create meaning. Signs like the sudden flitting of a butterfly, a word on the license plate in the car in front of me, a song on the radio. Somehow I experience God, the divine, the universe, the energetic field that moves through us, speaking to me in these ways. Okay, I know it might sound a bit crazy to some of you, and sometimes I worry a little bit about myself, but I don't know any other way to go through life. It has become my story, and it helps me make sense of the world. And it's not as if there is no Torah foundation. Remember Joseph, lost, alone in the field, wondering where his brothers are, and suddenly a man is standing there. They went that way, he says, disappears, and Joseph's destiny and ours is altered forever. Signs happening, burning bushes happening. And so this past May, when my world was turned on its head with my son's illness, I didn't know what to do. And I knew precisely what to do. I began reading the signs that presented themselves to me. The Torah of the moment showed up. Once I had to leave my son in the hospital overnight with his dad. I prayed, God, universe, send me a sign that it's okay, that he'll be safe. And as I turned to give my son's medical history to the nurse next to me, I glanced at her and my jaw dropped. A bit stunned, I said to her, "Your name?" That was my great-grandmother's name. "Oh, Rose?" "No, Rose Tucker. In fact, I was named after her." "Well," she said, "I've never met anybody named Rose Tucker before." "Me neither." I took it as a sign that it was okay for me to go home, and that somehow my great-grandmother would be watching over my boy. Fast forward 2 weeks. We're in a brain rehab facility. Part of my son's treatment plan included music therapy. He had the words to Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah on a table in his room. When a woman walked in, a PCA, a personal care assistant. After speaking with my son, she said suddenly, "I see this music sitting here, the song Hallelujah. While I don't know your religion, it's a pretty powerful song. And I want you to know that God can heal you through your music. No matter how low you feel, God can still use you. God always has a plan. So when you feel like you're walking through a valley, I want you to think of that song. And that song will lift you up to the mountaintop. You're going to be just fine." Later that evening, I bumped into her. I thanked her for her words. "I could tell you were touched," she replied. I shared with her that I was studying to become a rabbi. She looked me squarely in the eye and she said, "So how's your faith?" "I'm trying to hang on," I replied. "Don't you lose your faith. You understand?" The next morning, I saw her again. Like the man in the field, like the burning bush, she was my sign extraordinaire. "You know," she said, "I was thinking about you becoming a rabbi, and I want to know how your faith is." "I told you yesterday, I'm trying to keep the faith, and it's been really hard. Now you listen here," she spoke to me sternly but with a gentle smile. "Your boy's going to be just fine. I've seen a lot of people come through this place, and I'm telling you, this is all God here. There is no adversary. And you know what? This is for you too. You're going to be out there, and you're going to be preaching, and you're going to be telling people what to do. And how do you think you can tell people to cross the River Jordan when you haven't crossed it yourself?" Silence. Wow. Just wow. So how was my faith really? My emunah was shaky at best. What a sign. This stranger held up a mirror for me, helping me to look deep into my soul. She helped me rediscover what I know to be true for me. At that moment, strangely, I felt so utterly, divinely looked after and cared for. I've changed her job title. She's no longer a PCA, a personal care assistant. She is a prophetess calling Amy. So many spectacular signs have sustained me for these past 8 months. Melachim, God's emissaries, angels in human form, messengers coming and going, in and out of my life, God's emissaries showing up always at the right place at the right time. I hope I will always see them. And I wonder how often we miss them. Perhaps we tend to pay closer attention when we're going through tough times. But I offer you that these signs are always present. Let's stop to notice. Let's take time to observe, to be open. Sometimes the message we need is unfolding right before us, right before our eyes, perhaps even now. Soon I will move into my new role in the Jewish community. I will be a rabbi. I pray that I will continue to be open to these signs that can guide me on my path. I pray for emunah, for faith, that these will help me be of great service. And I pray that I will be open to the guidance that I receive on a daily basis. And I pray that you all will be open to the guidance that you receive on a daily basis. I am grateful to the source of all, the Holy One of blessings, who in the midst of so many challenges continues to shower me and shower us with shefa, with abundance, and with blessings upon blessings upon blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Woo.
Bereshit Rabbanan, with the permission of my holy teachers. Holy friends, this week's Parsha, B'Shalach, tells the story of our leaving Egypt. This is the story we tell each Passover. Holy One took us across the sea, broke our bonds, gave us revelation, and brought us to the Promised Land. It is the central narrative of Judaism, a journey, literally and figuratively, from slavery to freedom, from constriction to openness, from brokenness to wholeness. It is the journey of our lives, the journey through which we live, we hope and pray, into God's dream for each of us. Yet in the midst of this journey of liberation, there is a discordant note. In Exodus 13:18, we learn that the Holy One led the children of Israel out of Egypt into the wilderness of the Sea of Reeds. And then, Torah makes a point of telling us that we went up out of Egypt bearing arms. I don't mean these things, but bearing spears and daggers and shields and swords. At the very moment that we were walking out of Egypt, walking into liberation, we carried weapons of destruction. We might have physically left Egypt. We had not actually been liberated. We were still slaves to our fears, the constricted place. And yet when we tell the story of the Passover every single year, we quote the psalmist who tells us when Israel went up out of Egypt, the sea fled. The Jordan ran backwards. The mountains skipped like rams, and the hills like rams. The psalmist, according to tradition, King David, is telling us that the world was transformed in beauty and joy and love. And that's the real story of the Passover. So we have on one hand, bearing arms, clenched fists, swords and spears, and on the other, we have a world transformed. What's going on here? The Torah, in telling us that the children of Israel left bearing arms, uses a very specific word. In Hebrew, it is spelled Chet Mem Shin Yud Final Mem. Now, as so many of you know, the Torah is not vocalized. We don't actually, when we look at a scroll, know exactly how to vocalize it. The Masoretes gave us all the instruction we need. And they told us this word should be said Hamushim, bearing arms. But it can just as easily be stated as Hamishim, 50. So rather than Torah telling us that we came up out of Israel bearing arms, Torah might be telling us we came out of Egypt marked by the number 50. No, this is not Sesame Street, and the Exodus is not sponsored by the number 50. But the number 50 is such an important number in Judaism. The Torah tells us that 50 is the number of the Jubilee, the year in which debts are canceled, where we are told that all land are given back to its original owner, and when we proclaim liberty throughout the land. The Talmud teaches us that there are 50 aspects of wisdom, 50 gates. And the Zohar goes even further, the mystical tradition. It says that those 50 gates of wisdom reflect the feminine sphera of Bina, which must be paired with the masculine sphera of Chokhmah. Insight must be paired with understanding. When the masculine and the feminine are united, now there's real wisdom. So what we're learning from Torah with Chamishim, not Chamushim, we came up out of Egypt bearing the gifts of liberation, radical equality, and liberty, to proclaim liberty throughout the land for all of its inhabitants. We came up out of Egypt with 50 types of wisdom. We came out of Egypt with the gifts of Bina and Chokhmah, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, with that knowledge that when they are united, then we are whole, then we are wise. Torah teaches us that we must embark on this journey where we live into being a people who live in harmony with others, a people who embody God's dream for us and through us for all humanity. We are the people charged with bringing that dream of Hamishim into reality. The mistranslation or the misstatement of Hamushim, which should be Hamishim, has caused us to misunderstand the call of Torah. We've created a Judaism, we've created a world of clenched fists with daggers and swords, always ready to fight. Hamishim teaches us we were not meant for swords and spears. We were meant to have open hands, which we grasp those around us, which we embrace all of those who we live together with. The psalmist had it right. When we open our hands and our hearts to this world, when we proclaim liberty throughout the land, when we unite the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the world will be transformed. That's what this parsha is all about. We can, in that way, live into God's dream for us and for our entire planet. And when we do, we will truly have left Egypt and come into the promised land. Katie Hirotson.
Page 9 in your program.
each of us has walked across the very narrow bridge. Wet sand in the midst of the roaring waves, remembering the past, anticipating the future.
At this time of transition, as we dance between our lives as students and our lives as teachers,
we remember those who have come before us, those who have taught our people words of Torah, songs of joy, times where we have encountered the Holy One of blessing.
Face to face, heart to heart, and soul to soul.
אשא אתכם על כנפי נשרים ואביא אתכם אליי, כי מי גוי גדול אשר לו אלוהים קרובים אליו, כאדוני אלוהינו בכל קוראינו אליו. Who else is such a great nation that has God so near to it as Yah, our God, and our calling? We are the people called from the slavery of Egypt, carried on the wings of Shekhinah, to be among those in this world who witness the presence of the divine in this world. According to Pirkei Avot, Moshe received Torah at Sinai and transmitted it to Yehoshua, who in turn transmitted Torah to the elders, who transmitted Torah to the prophets, who in turn transmitted it to the men of the Great Assembly. Over time, this linear transmission, the laying on of hands, Smicah, from one generation to another, became diffused as we wandered, spread out over the world, and as the number of our teachers who nourished disciples grew. For many, being a rabbi eventually became a degree, a measure of intellectual mastery of a body of material which in turn conferred power and authority. For us, being a Kli Kodesh acknowledges belonging to a lineage and expresses a willingness to serve others as a model and a guide of spiritual practice and development in this moment of a great shifting of paradigms. Today, we welcome our latest initiates into the new lineage of Jewish spiritual renewal, drawing deeply on the wisdom of those who've preceded us, and particularly on the devotional mystics of Eastern European Hasidism, this lineage given first expression and form by our beloved Rav Zalman Schachter Shalom Zal. Now in our time, we lay the hands of Smicah, of trust and confidence, on both women and men equally, with loving respect for multiple possibilities of sexual orientation and life choices. This is in keeping with our commitment to voluntary negotiation with the dynamic, ever-fluctuating balance between individual practice and communal cohesion. According to the lineage of Pirkei Imahot, Miriam received Torah at Sinai and passed it to Machla, Noah, Chagla, Milka, and Tirza, the daughters of Smicah, who passed it to Devorah, who gave it to Hannah, who passed it to Michal bat Shaul, eventually received by Bruria, and transmitted to Chana Rochel of Ludmir, Regina Jonas of Berlin, and now surfacing again, to walk side by side and share the light equally with the parallel lineage of men with which we began. We are humbly grateful for this moment of living in the fulfillment of our age-old dream. May the light of the moon be like the light of the sun and like the light of the 7 days of creation. May the lights of men and women in all their multiple, varied, and wonderful forms grow ever stronger in the bond of open partnership and service to the one. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We want everyone to see you. We want everyone to see you. We want you to see everyone. Because I'm not going to stand this up. And while we're raising this microphone a little bit so that I neither have to lean into it or shout, I invite you to beam love. I invite you to receive love and beam some love back. The beautiful friends, are they worthy? Shall we ordain them? Yes! In that case, now is the time to kvel. For it is with manifold delight that we welcome our new musmachim, 6 new rabbis, 3 new chazanim, 1 new rabbinic pastor, into our circle of colleagues, and into the lineage of our beloved Reb Zalman, who is so very present today in our hearts, and he's sitting here kvelling and dancing. I invoke his presence, I invoke his blessing on all of us. As you have also expressively taught, our ordination this year again falls in the midst of our people's greatest drama, the greatest drama in Torah, Yitziat Mitzrayim, the drama of our people's bondage and historic escape from exile in Mitzrayim, the tight place, the place of constriction, and coming up out of there into the ark of redemption. You've taught us well. For just yesterday, we read in Parshat Bo, there we hear God calling to Moshe saying, what? Bo el Paro. Curious. Bo el Paro. The text doesn't say, Lech, go to Pharaoh. The text says, come to Pharaoh. Surely this means God will already be there. That God will be there waiting. Waiting for Moshe when he comes, echoing God's promise at the burning bush. When Moshe hears, Ki ayeh imach, I will be with you. Bo, come, I will be with you. I will be waiting for you when you come. I will be with you. Keep the faith. Walk the path. Come. God calls to each one of us. Not go, but come. And I will be with you. This very Shabbos, when we sing Shirat Hayam, we sing the song of the sea, a song of victory. Waters open. With each step that we take, the sea of swamp grass, the sea of obstacles parts, way opens. Keyem imach, I will be with you. Way opens, I will be with you. Even when we face impossible obstacles, there too God is with us, opening up new possibilities. See, God is the power that keeps opening up new possibilities. Infinite creative possibilities, and calls to us, come here. Come this way, and I will be with you. When we stride out into the midbar, is it chamushim, chamishim, or with chumashim? That's the other fun teaching, that we strode out of Mitzrayim, each person holding up a chumash. Yeah, we had to read the story, know what was going to happen. Holding our chumashim, armed with love and compassion, a passion for liberty, an affirmation that the arc of the universe bends towards justice, bends towards freedom, bends towards redemption. We step out into the midbar, that wild, barren place where everything inessential is stripped away, where everything that is not essential is stripped away, where we can hear God middaber. In the midbar, we hear God middaber, speaking with an intensity and a clarity that restructures our spiritual DNA, calling us, as you have called us, to the highest level of engagement, and sealing in our hearts an eternal brit, an eternal covenant. Perhaps this frames our challenge to our musmachim. Be called to the highest level of engagement. Stay radically present to new possibilities. Walk courageously. Continually clear away the noise of ego. To yet again and again and again hear and see the signs. To again and again hear the divine voice calling us, come. I will be with you. Seek me and I will be found by you. Seek me and I will be found by you. Smicah. Smicah, the word itself, gives us some insights into how to heed this call. Smicah, Samech, Mem, Yud, Chaf, Hey. Samach, round letter, the letter of inner and outer support. Inner and outer support. Your good leadership will need both. Mem, the water letter, retain fluidity. This will source your creativity. Yud. Yud is like the yad, the pointing hand. It's the pointing hand of God that shows you the way. Go forward towards the mission that calls your neshama. Go forward towards the mission that calls your soul. Go forward, walk into your deployment. And engage. Chaf. Chaf is the open hand. Chaf is the open hand. Open to receive and also to give. Offer love. Offer care. Offer blessing. Be open to receive. Take all the help that is offered. I'm still learning that. You always teach what you need to learn. Somebody told you that already. Be open to receive. Be nourished and be renewed. Hey. The life force letter. Hey, the life force letter, the letter of breath. Twice breathed in the divine name. The name that can only be pronounced by breathing. Reminding us that the divine life force is never farther away than the next breath. Smicah. Samach. Mem. Yud. Chaf. Hey. Support. Fluidity. Engagement. Giving and receiving. Breathing with God. We leave Mitzrayim affirming freedom. We leave Mitzrayim affirming the redemptive possibility, opening to creativity, engaging support, embracing vulnerability and humility, please. And humility. And going forth with faith. It is to this Smicah that God calls our musmachim. Come, says God, and I will be with you. As you receive your smicha, you lean back into the supportive hands of those whose smicha came before you. This lineage holds you, supports you. Today, as you rise to take your place in this chain of transmission, we will call each of you by name. You will come forward. As I call you by your English name, you come forward and you call out to us your tribal name, your Hebrew name. Gathering behind you will be the members of our AOP VAD and those mentors and teachers who you have specifically invited to come up. Shall we ordain them? Yes! We call Ruth Delphiner, and we call the VAD as she comes with our AOP VAD and all those special mentors and teachers whom Ruth has invited to come up. Please also come up. And Ruth, if you'll stand beside me.
Ruth Batzvi Vasara.
Beautiful Ruth is leaned back beautifully. For every one of us, the invitation is to hold this moment, seal this moment in our hearts.
בשם יה אלוהי ישראל. ולשם ייחוד. קודשא בריחו ושכינתה. על דעת המקום ועל דעת קהילתנו. הננו מסמיכים אותך לכהן כמלווה רוחנית בישראל, ללמוד וללמד תורה לעם השם, לתומכם ולייעצם בדרכי התורה והשלום, לנחמם באבלם ולשמחם בשמחתם. ויהי ליבך כליבנו, פיך כפינו, ברכתך כברכתנו, ויהי רצון שהשם יתברך ישלם שכרך בבריות גופה ונהורה מעליה. לכן סמוכה את לנו ומלווה רוחנית בישראל תתקרי. English. In the name of Yah, the God of Israel, and for the sake of the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He and the Shekhinah, with the consent of God and with the consent of our community, herewith we ordain you to serve as spiritual companions, to study and teach Torah to God's people, to support and counsel them in the ways of Torah and peace, to console them in their bereavements, and to rejoice with them in their joyous occasions. Thus, may your heart be in harmony with ours, your word be in harmony with our word, your blessing as potent as our blessings. May it be God's will that you be blessed with great success, and that God reward you with robust health of body and enlightened spirit. And so we ordain you and call you rabbinical pastor and spiritual companion in Israel.
I present to you Rabbinic Pastor Ruth Delfiner. And we call our Chazanim, inviting to join us for the Smicah, those mentors and teachers who our Musmachim have invited to come up. Creating a chain of hands on each other's shoulders. We call Shandel Adler Eldridge.
Shendo Morea Bat Kol Refua.
We call Diana Brewer.
Simcha Miriam Bat Avraham V'Sarah.
We call Baruch Morris.
Baruch ben Yaakov v'Vaila Rivka.
A chain of hands from shoulder to shoulder reach out to you.
It's official, yo.
בשם יה, אלוהי ישראל, ולשם ייחוד קודשה בריחו ושכינתה,
ולשם ייחוד קודשה בריחו ושכינתה,
על דעת המקום, ועל דעת קהילתנו, הננו מסמיכים אתכם לכהן כחזנים ובעלי תפילה בישראל להורות תורה ולהקדיש עולם הנגינה לכבוד השכינה והננו ממנים אתכם כשליחים שמינו אותנו המסמיכים שלנו כן ממנים אנחנו אתכם ויהי אתכם כידינו איכם כפינו קולכם כקולנו שירכם כשירנו תפילתכם כתפילתנו ברכתכם כברכתנו לכם סמוכים אתם לנו וחזנים ובעלי תפילה בישראל תתקרו כל המורך מתברך with the consent of God and the consent of our community, we here ordain you to serve as Chazan and Master of Tefillah among our people Israel, to be a source of Torah to multitudes, to elevate the realm of melody into holiness for the glory of Yeshua. We here appoint you as our agent, just as we were appointed by those who ordained us. May our hands be like our hands, your mouths our mouth, your voices our voice, your songs our song, your prayers our prayer, your blessings our blessing. So we ordain you and call you Chazanim, U'alei Tefillah Yisrael. May the one who shadows blessings be blessed.
We present to you Chazan Shendel Adler Eldridge, Chazan Diana Brewer, Chazan Baruch Morris. As we call those mentors and teachers who our rabbinic musmachim have specially invited to come up, come join us at this time.
We are born to
We call David Elijah.
Yeah.
David Raphael ben Yisrael.
We call Laurie Franklin.
Leah Rachel Bat Yichel Michel Bechana.
We call Maury Hoberman.
Moshe ben Avram Yitzchak Halevi Bebela Halevi.
We call Seth Oppenheimer.
Shet ben Leib Bechana.
We call Amy Grossblatt Hessa.
Aviva Rachel Bat Nachman Udvora.
call Jonathan Zaslav.
Yonatan Mordechai ben Phyllis Vishlam.
Leaning back into the hands that hold you.
B'Shem Yah.
B'Shem Yah.
Elohei Yisrael.
Elohei Yisrael.
U'L'Shem Yichud.
U'L'Shem Yichud.
Kuchabrichu U'Shchita.
Kuchabrichu U'Shchita.
Al da'at hamakom.
Al da'at hamakom.
Ve'al da'at kehilatenu.
Ve'al da'at kehilatenu.
Hinenu masmichim etchem.
Hinenu masmichim etchem.
Lechahen.
Lechahen.
כרבנים בישראל.
כרבנים בישראל.
להורות תורה.
להורות תורה.
לרבים ברבים.
לרבים ברבים.
ולברר דין אמת.
ולברר דין אמת.
לתיקון השכינה.
לתיקון השכינה.
כשם שמינו אותנו.
כשם שמינו אותנו.
המסמיכים אותנו.
המסמיכים אותנו.
כן ממנים אנחנו.
כן ממנים אנחנו.
אתכם.
אתכם.
להיות שליחים.
להיות שליחים.
לעם ישראל.
לעם ישראל.
למסור להם.
למסור להם.
את דבר השם.
את דבר השם.
הבא אלינו.
הבא אלינו.
בזמן הזה.
בזמן הזה.
ויהי ידכם כידינו.
ויהי ידכם כידינו.
ועשייתכם כעשייתנו.
ועשייתכם כעשייתנו.
ופיכם כפינו.
ופיכם כפינו.
ודיבורכם כדיבורנו.
ודיבורכם כדיבורנו.
ומעשה ודינכם.
ומעשה ודינכם.
כמעשה ודיננו.
כמעשה ודיננו.
וברכתכם.
וברכתכם.
כברכתנו.
כברכתנו.
לכן. סמוכים אתם לנו.
סמוכים אתם לנו.
ורבי תתקראו.
ורבי תתקראו.
להורות תורה לרבים.
להורות תורה לרבים.
כדת משה.
כדת משה.
מרים. וישראל.
וישראל.
In the name of
Yah, the God of Israel,
and for the sake of the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He and the Shekhinah, with the consent of God and the consent of our community. Herewith we ordain you to officiate as rabbis in Israel, to publicly teach Torah, and to clarify and pronounce truth in ways that make a tikkun for the Shekhinah. We hereby appoint you as our delegates and emissaries, just as those who appointed us, delegated us, and sent us to be rabbis, and thus who are now ordained as rabbis and leaders. Make your hands be like our hands, your decrees like our decrees, your rabbinic acts valid like ours, your adjudication like our adjudication, your blessings like our blessings. And so we ordain you and call you rabbi. Like Moshe, Miriam, and the people of Israel.
I present to you Rabbi David Elijah. Oppenheimer, Rabbi Amy Grossblatt, Jonathan Zaslav. You are joined at this time by our Hadanim and Rabbinic pastor as we offer Birkat Kohanim. We offer a closing blessing that invites everyone to rise in your place, extending your hands towards our Musmachim. May blessing flow from your hearts through your hands to our beloveds, our new Musmachim.
Say